Hey everyone, how you doing today? My name's Kirsty, aka Beth Bookish, and and here is a series update for 2024. First of all, I'm sat on my couch because I'm not feeling great, and I'm in one of those days where I wanted to film, I want to do videos, but I don't really feel great, and I wanted to sit down. So here we are on the couch. About a year ago, I uploaded a video where I did a series update for sort of 2023, and I looked at every single series that I'd started since I started BookTube. This time around, I'm literally just going to be talking about the series that I either started last year, finished last year, and just give you a bit of an update since that video of where I'm at. So obviously I'll be looking at the ones that I finished, the ones that I will continue, and the ones that I have decided to DNF. I'm going to start with the series that I'll start with the ones that I did complete last year. So I started and finished Shadow of the Fox by Julie Kagawa last year. I listened to all three on the audiobook. They were brilliant. It was a great series, 4.5 stars overall. Highly recommend, and now I want to get a physical copy of the books for my shelves. Unfortunately, not such a good time was the end of the Once Upon a Con series by Ashley Poston. Started off fantastic, then it went to meh, and then it ended absolutely terribly, and I did not enjoy the final book in any way, shape or form. And I felt it lost so much of the magic of what made the first book so good, and I just couldn't get on with it. So yeah. Then I finished Daughter of the Pirate King by Tricia Levenseller, and that duology was just so good. So that again was a 4-star series overall. Then we had The Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer. This series is in my top 5 all time now. I love it. I can't wait to reread it. All of these books got either a 4 or 5 star. It was so good, so solid from start to finish. Then it was another one that wasn't so great, Untamed Vixen and whatever the Villain Era is, I think the sequel to that. Honestly, it wasn't the best. It was my first foray into that kind of mafia dark romance, and I just felt like it wasn't dark enough. And certainly the second book, I didn't find any of the characters enjoyable, and I just read it purely for the foursome at the very end. So that was literally the only reason I continued it. But on better news, the final one that I finished that I absolutely loved with all my heart and definitely recommend is My Brother's Husband by Gengaro Tagame. It just challenges opinion and how people view LGBT relationships, and it was just a beautiful series, and I loved the development of the main, like the relationship of the family unit, but also the twin brother. His development and the way he changes over the course of the book was just something so magical. So thankfully I enjoyed most of the book series that I finished last year, which is really great. Unfortunately, there were a bunch of series that I also did not enjoy and have ended up DNFing. Some of them is because I didn't enjoy the first book and I didn't want to continue. Some of them are ones that maybe I've been holding off for ages and I'm like, do you know what? It's not a priority. And then others are maybe they're really big series and I just don't want to invest the time or money into collecting them all. There's just various reasons, so I'll just give a very short reason for each one rather than go into full detail. We're starting with a manga series, and that is My Love Mix-Up. I just didn't like the art, didn't like the characters, wasn't interested in the story. Woven in Moonlight by Isabel Ibanez. Honestly, I felt this could be a standalone, but I have learnt some problematic things about the author and her attitudes towards certain aspects of history in her culture, and I could definitely tell that that was reflected in the writing, and I ended up not really having a great time with it, and I definitely don't want to continue now. The Bone Spindle by Leslie Vedder. I did start this. I got most of the way through it, but then I put it down, didn't pick it up for about 4 months, and afterwards I realised I'm not interested. It was just so generic. It was kind of like your generically typical YA fantasy, and I was just like, I'm bored. Next one is one that might be a bit controversial for some, but I don't really care, and that is Saga I really, really did enjoy it the first time I read it. I then flicked through it again recently and I was kind of like, am I actually that bothered whether or not I continue it? I don't know if this is a complete hard DNF or whether maybe it's one that I will get back to eventually, or if someone says you absolutely must read this. But yeah, for now it is on the DNF pile because I've just realised I'm not really that bothered. Then we have This Vicious Growth by Emily Teed. I literally only read this a few weeks ago, but unfortunately I felt that even though some aspects were fantastic, this definitely fell into more of a romantasy, and the plot definitely suffered at the expense of the romance, and that is not what I'm here for. And the second book, from what I've seen in reviews, it's literally them two just pining over each other the entire book, and I'm just like, nah. Next up we have Fables, which is a graphic novel series. I enjoyed the first one. The second one kind of started to lose me. And then when I looked up, it's actually really hard to try and get all of these. There's a lot of them and they can get quite expensive. So my enjoyment is not worth the amount of money I would have to invest. Then we have Die, which wasn't bad. It just wasn't good. And it didn't really keep my attention, and I've not really thought much about it since, so what's the point? Another one might be controversial for some, but honestly, I think I'm doing what's right for me. Crescent City, Sarah J Maas. Loved the first one with all my heart, hated the second one with all my heart. I have listened to the intro and first chapter of the third one, and I'm just not interested. And I still hate the fact that it's gone multiversal, which means I've now... People keep saying I have to read ACOTAR, and I don't want to read ACOTAR because I'm not interested, and I DNF'd the Throne of Glass because I got bored. So unfortunately I do think this is my final foray into Sarah J Maas. And then we have another one that genuinely does upset me, and that is Cat Gamer. I was loving this until the third book, and then it just got so boring and repetitive, and I was a bit like, where's the plot? I don't mind books that are all vibe, but this just got too vibey, and I need more plot than it has, and I need more character development than it has, and I just need more than it has. It can't just get by on being cute, and I never thought I'd say that. Couple more manga. We have Kaguya-sama Love is War. Just, I don't like the idea that that they're in love with each other, yet their way of doing it is to kind of force it out of each other, and it was really mean-spirited, and just not what I'm here for with the relationships. Spy Classroom, not great world building, not too many characters trying to be introduced all at once, and I think if you're going to read a spy manga, you're better off with Spy Family. Then it was These Violent Delights. I did pick up the second book, I started reading it, I remembered how confusing and annoying I found the first one and decided actually I don't want to continue it, so I put it back down. Skullduggery Pleasant is another one where it was kind of, I read the first 5 books and it was fine, but I wasn't getting excited, and every time I started the next book I had forgotten what had happened in the one before, and it just kept, and I was getting more annoyed that I couldn't remember it, so I gave up. Then we had Trollkin Lovers, which was the first book in like a troll monster smut thing for a video project that I did, and it was fine, but as I said in that vlog, if you're going to include a character with tusks, have them do something interesting with it, and I'm just not interested in continuing. And then the final one for this list is one that I literally read last week, and that is Twisted Love by Anna Huang. I'm sorry, Sasha, I know you've said to me that it's like that Reese Larson is everything, but I just, even at the thought of these two reappearing anywhere in the rest of the books, fills me with a rage. And yeah, again, it might be a soft DNF. I may go and try the second one, but right now it is definitely a DNF, and I hated this book with an absolute passion, as you can see in the vlog that I will link. I have 2 series that I need to start because I own the books, or I just need to get to. The first one is the Rule of Wolves, King of Scars duology, because obviously I own both, so I have no reason to not get to them. And then we have Fragile Threads of Power by V.E. Schwab, because obviously Dark Shades, as you know, is one of my all-time favourite series. It is what sparked me running my own candle business, and I just love it so much, and so I need to get to it as soon as I have finished my goddamn reread. And then the final section in this is by far the biggest section, where it's all of the series that I plan on continuing. I have a big stack, so I'm just going to try and get through these as quickly as I can. Monk and Robot series, I read this in February. I really enjoyed it and the way it looked at dystopia in a different way to any other dystopic books I've read. Dragonbound by Thea Harrison, this is a reread and I want to see if I want to continue and finally finish this series because I know I read it about 10 years ago but I don't remember anything about it. Same with Guilty Pleasures by Laurel K. Hamilton. I know I've read the first 2 or 3. Can I remember anything about it other than the fact that she's a detective necromancer? No. January, the very first book that I finished this year, Conventionally Yours. This does have a sequel where it follows another person in their friend group and I definitely want to read more of this author's work. I really, really had a good time and it was great. Boyfriend Material by Alexis Hall, I read last year. This is the London Calling series and I definitely want to continue on adventures with them and see how their relationship develops, and also the audiobook was narrated by none other than Jo Jameson, so obviously I'm gonna read it, well, listen to it. Black Butler, haven't made any progress since last year but I still want to read it. I Think Our Son is Gay, I read in January I believe and absolutely loved it. All the cute. It was my second favourite or my favourite, I can't remember, in my Wholesome Manga Part 2 vlog, and I cannot wait to continue this one because it's going to just be so sweet and beautiful. Holy a Monster by Vanessa Len, I don't yet own the second or third book but now all 3 books are out so I want to finish it, and a lot of people didn't like it but I really did. I found it a really easy read and it had a twist that I didn't see coming. So yeah. One that I read literally last week is A Sign of Affection, and honestly it not only is the artwork some of the most beautiful artwork I've ever seen, the storyline was beautiful and I cannot wait to see how this relationship's going to develop. Last year I read the first in the Poison Study series, really loved it. I gave it 5 stars. I sped through it and I thought all of the characters were fantastic and I cannot wait to continue this series and see what happens with Yelena. Yep, Yelena and, oh, I just had his name right there. Valek. Yelena and Valek. I cannot wait to see what happens with their relationship. Spellslinger by Sebastian de Castell. I am about to do a reread of it. Another one that's narrated by Jo Jameson. Everything by Sebastian de Castell is narrated by Jo Jameson. He's incredible. Check him out. And yeah, that one is one that I want to continue and give a second chance, so I'll be reading that this month. Midnight Twins by Holly Race. I started it last year or the year before, 2022. Haven't continued it yet, but I do now own all 3, so I plan on doing a week where I'll just read all 3 back to back. Everless by Sarah Holland. I do have the first book somewhere, but I can't remember where I put it. But Everless, I just have the second book to read, and that's been since last year, and I will get to it. My Hero Academia Vigilantes. I read the first volume last year. I wasn't sure if I was going to continue it, but I am intrigued enough to give it another go, and this is kind of a spin-off. Well, it's a prequel to My Hero Academia following a different set of heroes, but there are some heroes from My Hero Academia that appear in it, including Eraser, who we all know I love, adore and worship. My book of the year for last year was The Reanimator's Heart by Kari Jorgensen. Obviously, there is no way that I'm not going to continue this series, and I hope that the second book's going to be just as good as the first. I read that for the BBMYA Awards, and another book that I read for the BBMYA Awards that has got me interested in the series was A Rose Among Thorns, which is the Hall of Thorns series by, I can't remember, but her name, she'll be here. And yeah, I really want to continue that one. We also have the A Lady's Guide to series by Sophie Irwin. I read A Lady's Guide to Fortune Hunting last year. It wasn't spectacular, it wasn't amazing, but it was fun and I really liked her writing style, so I want to continue that series with A Lady's Guide to Scandal. And another one that I read just last month was Kitsune Chronicles by Lissa Casey. I had a great time. It has some pretty heavy topics, but it wasn't all, it was kitsune, but also witchcraft and also shifters, and it was just a different things that you don't see put together very often, and I just had a great time seeing that mix. Delilah Green Doesn't Care, so Bright Falls. I still need to continue this. I now own all 3, so again, planning on doing a vlog where I read all 3 back to back. Still haven't finished the Shadow Game series by Amanda Foodie because I'm still scared of the emotional damage it's going to cause me. This also applies to the Girls of Paper and Fire series. Still terrified to pick up that final book because I know the kind of damage that is awaiting, and nah. I also have it on good authority that 16 Souls by Rosie Talbot also continues with this book that a lot of people have said, get your tissues ready. And I'm just like, I'm good. I'll wait for the final one and then read them back to back and just be destroyed. Gold by Raven Kennedy, Plated Prisoner, book 5. I have reluctances, which is what stopped me from reading it so far, because apparently it goes down a route that is not a trope I enjoy typically, but we shall see if it ruins it, and if it does ruin the series for me, I will riot. Just kidding, but I probably will cry and probably give up the series, but I'm really hoping that doesn't happen, because so far this has become one of my all-time favourite series, and I really don't want it to be ruined. Another one from this year is Orange, Volume 1. Love the art, love the storyline. Surprisingly, considering I don't normally like time travel and like deja vu, doing Groundhog Day type things. And this kind of has sprinklings of all of that, but I have actually been really enjoying it, and I found it very emotional, and the topics within hit very close to home, which I think is why it's had such a big impact on me. Next up we have a bunch of cat manga. So we have The Masterful Cat is Depressed Again Today, which is probably going to end up being one of my all-time favourite manga series if it continues the way it is. Same with The Man and His Cat, and Ex Yakuza and Stray Kitten. All three of these have just got super cute, super wholesome vibes, have a really great cast of characters, and are starting to develop some really good plots that have kept me hooked from the first page. We have Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. I have read, last year I read book 2, Bloodmarked, and I gave it 5 stars and I loved it. Book 3 is not yet out, but this is absolutely a series that I will continue, and as I've said since day one, I think this is one of the best, if not the best, YA debut series that I've ever read. It's so full of lore and fantastic characters and representation, and it's just so good. Please read it. One that was a shock for me last year was Sweat and Soap. I did not expect this to be as wholesome and cute and wonderful as it is, and even Ren has now gone and bought the entire series. So when I am over there, I will probably binge and finish this entire series at the end of this year. The Way of the House Husband, I picked it up on a whim. I love the TV show, so I decided to start the manga, and the manga is pretty much play by play, exactly the same. So I was kind of hoping for a little bit extra, but it's fine. I'm definitely going to continue these, and I really want to collect them all because I do absolutely love it, and I really like the art style in this. It's really cool. Then we have Watakoi, Love is Hard for Otaku. I am an otaku. I've struggled with love. I have many of the insecurities that these characters have. I just love them both. The Summer You Were There is one that I wasn't sure if I was going to continue, but the more I thought about it, the more I do want to know what happens next, especially as I just want to find out if my suspicions about this character are going to come true, and I want to see how much emotional damage is going to come from that. The Sunbearer Trials, this is going to be a duology, and book 2 comes out this year, Celestial Monsters by Aidan Thomas, and I cannot wait. High School Debut is another one that I wasn't sure if I was going to enjoy because of it being an older manga set in high school, and I wasn't sure, but I ended up finding it super cute, super wholesome, really loved it, can't wait to continue. The Agency for Scandal by Laura Wood, book 2 is now out, and I really want to get a hold of it because this was 5-star. I read it in a day and I absolutely loved it, and I've now read 2 books by Laura Wood, both are 5 stars, and both have just been so good, and I just want to read anything that she writes in future because she just has such a fantastic way of writing characters and casts, and oh, so good. Captive Prince by C.S. Pacat. I now own all 3. There is no reason for me to not finish it. I read the first one last year. Thank you again to Charlotte for buying this for me. I loved it. I probably shouldn't have loved it, but I did. We're all messed up here. It's all good. And yeah, I want to continue. Fence by C.S. Pacat. I'm up to date with this series now, so it's just a case of waiting for them as they come out, and I cannot wait because I need to know how the series is going to end because it's just so good. I don't even like fencing or sport very much, but for some reason I am an absolute sucker for sports manga and graphic novels. Imakoi is another one from my wholesome manga series, and I'm now on volume 3 and I've been loving it. It is very cute, and the art style in this, it's so pretty. Our Not So Lonely Planet travel guide, really enjoyed once they got into the abroad countries, and I loved how the countries were represented, so I definitely want to see what's going to happen next with that. Mao Volume 1, I like the storyline, I like the characters, I like that it feels familiar because obviously it's the same author as Ranma and Inuyasha, so it's got a lot of that kind of similar feels to those, but I have been having a fun time with it. Natsume's Book of Friends kind of gave me Card Captors vibes, and I loved Card Captors when I was younger, but this kind of feels like a more grown-up version, and I like the fact that it's a male protagonist. The Great Coat series by Sebastian de Castell. I just have the final book to read, and again, I have been too scared to read it because I am a coward who does not want to have emotional damage, but I'm going to be a big girl and I'm going to get to it very soon. Another one from this year, the Before the Coffee Gets Cold. I ended up giving this 5 stars, really enjoyed it. I want to try the second book. I'm hoping it's not going to be more of the same, because if it is, I can see me ending up making it a series DNF, but for now I want to continue, and I did have a beautiful time with this book. It had me crying. And then I think the final one that I have here that I'm going to continue is one that I literally finished the second book of yesterday, and I'm currently and last night started the, oh my god, and last night started the third book of, and I'm just kind of like, the more I'm getting into this series, the more I'm falling in love with it, and that is The Raven Cycle by Maggie Stiefvater. As I said, I went from having this on my unhaul pile listed on Vinted to Ren begging me to give it a second try. I thought I'd try the audio just in case I preferred it. Holy hell do I prefer it, and I'm now on book 3, absolutely loving it, and I am obsessed with Ronan and Adam. So those are the series updates. Bunch of DNFs, a bunch of, not as many as I would have liked that I have finished, but a whole bunch of DNFs and a ton of series that I have yet to complete. I am going to do a second video linking to this one where it will be talking about all the series that I can finish. I did do that video last year. It was like, these are the series that I own all of the books to, so theoretically I can get this series finished in one go. So I will go back through that. If you are interested, please do let me know in the comments if you would like to see that. But yeah, in the meantime, I have a lot of series to continue or try and finish this year. I hope you're all good. I hope you're staying safe. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to get some more content from me. And until next time.